Hello and welcome back, everybody. We're going to do a third part of our second series this morning called Kingdom Relationships, the friendships, marriages, and communities God uses to advance His purpose. We've done the internal work. In our first episode of this series, we talked about forgiveness, releasing the debt privately, choosing to no longer be defined by the wound. In our second episode, we talked about communication and boundaries, learning to say the hard thing directly, learning to steward what you carry so you don't get consumed in the process. Both of those were essentially about repair, about clearing the wreckage, and about dealing with the relationships that were costing you. In this episode is about something different. This episode is about investment. Because here's what I've noticed. Most of us think about relationships defensively. We're trying to minimize damage, manage our exposure, survive difficult people. And that's understandable given what relationships have sometimes done to us. But if you spend your entire relational life in damage control mode, you will miss something crucial. The right relationships don't just hurt you, the right relationships advance you. Relationships are the primary vehicle God uses to move people into their purpose. Not programs, not sermons, though sermons matter, not even the most brilliant personal prayer life, though that matters deeply. The friends who speak into you, the marriage you build, the community you're embedded in, the people that you work with and for and serve in your business, these are not peripheral to what God is doing in your life. They are part of the mechanism. Today, I want to talk about how to be a kingdom-minded person in our relationships. Not just who to avoid, but who to pursue, what to build, and how to recognize when the community around you is life-giving or quietly suffocating you. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 tells us, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." Short verse with enormous weight. Iron sharpens iron through contact and friction. The implication is not that the right relationships are comfortable, it's that they are formative. The blade doesn't complain about the whetstone, it becomes what the whetstone makes it. The question Proverbs is asking is not, are your relationships pleasant? It's, are they making you sharper? Our first point today is friendships that sharpen. What should they look like, and how can you find them? And where can you find them? Proverbs has a lot to say about the company you keep. In chapter 13, verse 20, it says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Not be around wise people and hope it rubs off, but walk with the wise, which implies proximity, consistency, and direction. You're walking together, which means you're going the same way, and the outcome is transformation. You become wise. And often when we are walking with people, we're not silent. We're walking in communion. We're walking in discussion with them and engagement. This is the compounding principle applied to relationships. The person you spend the most time with is slowly becoming a version of who you are, and you are slowly becoming a version of them. This is not motivational language. This is neurological reality. We absorb the habits, the expectations, the limits, and the faith of the people we are closest to. So you mean to tell me the whole time my parents were right that I need to be careful about the friends that I make? I can't believe my parents were right. That's crazy. Oh, jeez, I lost my place. Can't find it. So the question is not whether you're being shaped by your closest... Yeah, that's where I was, maybe. No, I was below that. Here's what a sharpening friendship actually looks like, because it's often confused with either flattery or hardship. They tell you the truth, not cruelly, not as a habit of criticism, but when it matters. They love you enough to say, I noticed something, I want to ask you about it. The person who only tells you what you want to hear is not your friend. They are your comfort object. They are your enabler. They are your crutch. They believe in the calling on your life, not generically and specifically. The people that are friendships that sharpen, we're going back to those. There should be someone in your life whose faith makes yours feel small in a healthy way, not condemned, but invited to more. Someone who is further down the road in an area where you're still developing. Who in your life is that person? And here's the uncomfortable audit. Look at the 5 people you talk to most. Not who you wish you talked to more, who you actually spend time with. Are they making you sharper? Are they pulling your calling forward? Are they building you in the direction of who God said you are? If the answer is mostly no, that doesn't mean you abandon everyone. It means you begin intentionally building toward the relationships that will actually carry your assignment. Our second point in this message is marriage as a kingdom partnership. I want to tread carefully here and tread honestly. Marriage is a deeply personal thing. Everyone in this room who is married has a specific, particular relationship with all of its history and texture and difficulty. I can't speak to your specific marriage from here. What I can do is offer the frame that I believe Scripture gives us and let you take it home and apply it. And here is what I want to say plainly. Marriage was never just a personal arrangement. It was never just about companionship or comfort or even family. Paul says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. And in chapter 22, in the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. These verses get used as weapons, and they shouldn't be. Read in full context, both of them, not just the one you prefer, they're painting a picture of a covenant that is modeled on the relationship between Christ and the church. That's not a small frame. That's the biggest possible frame you can put around a human relationship. The Christ and church relationship is characterized by sacrifice, pursuit, faithfulness through unfaithfulness, love that is not contingent on performance, and a shared mission that is larger than either party. Which means your marriage is not just about you and your spouse. It is a witness. It is a partnership for something. It is meant to be going somewhere together. That has practical implications. Are you going the same direction? Not just do you get along or do you share the same, or not just do you get along, but do you share the ultimate same destination, the same commitments about God, about what your family is building, and about what legacy looks like? Amos asks, can 2 walk together unless they are agreed? 2 people walking different directions are not walking together. They are sharing proximity while drifting apart. Jesus said it, I think it was Jesus. It might not have been actually. Somewhere in the Bible, someone said about being unequally yoked. And that's what this is talking about, is if you're not going the same direction, so you could even both be believers, but if you're not on the same page about the mission, then you're not quite equally yoked. Does your marriage sharpen or suppress the calling on each person? This is a hard question. A kingdom marriage does not diminish one partner for the sake of the other. It finds ways to champion both callings and to find the shared calling underneath them. If one of you is constantly shrinking so the other can expand, that's a conversation worth having. Are you investing in the marriage or just surviving it? There's a version of marriage where both people are so depleted from the demands of life that the marriage becomes the last thing that gets attention. What comes in first every day is work, kids, ministry, obligation, and the marriage gets what's left. Over time, that pattern does real damage. The marriage doesn't break dramatically. It just slowly empties. The kingdom partnership requires investment, intentional, regular, non-negotiable investment. Not because it feels romantic. Sometimes it won't, but because the covenant is worth more than your current mood. Our third point this morning: church community as a spiritual ecosystem. The New Testament has almost nothing to say about the solo Christian life. I mean that literally. The Christian life in the New Testament is an inherently communal project. The one another commands: love one another, serve one another, bear one another's burdens, encourage one another, confess to one another, are only possible if there is one another. You cannot obey them alone. In Ephesians 4, chapter 4, verse 16, Paul writes, "From him the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself in love, as each part does its work." Every part doing its work. The body grows when it functions as a body, when each member is contributing to the whole, and the whole is sustaining each member. That is what healthy church community is supposed to be. But Paul also warns in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character." And the principle he's quoting extends to community context. A toxic spiritual environment, one marked by control, flattery, division, or the suppression of honest conversation, can corrupt the formation of the people inside it, no matter how much they're trying to grow. So here's the honest question: is your church community a thriving ecosystem or a struggling one? A thriving spiritual ecosystem looks like truth being spoken and received, not just from the platform, but between members. Genuine care that extends beyond Sunday morning. An environment where both your gifts and your struggles can be known. Leadership that multiplies people rather than keeping them dependent. A shared mission that is bigger than organizational survival. A struggling or toxic spiritual ecosystem looks like control being mistaken for shepherding, flattery replacing honest feedback, people leaving, and the narrative is always about their failure, never about what the environment contributed to why they left. Gifts being used for the organization rather than developed for the individual or for the people in the organization. A culture where certain questions cannot be asked. I'm not here to tell you to leave your church. I'm here to tell you to be honest about what kind of environment you're in and to take that seriously, because you are being formed by your spiritual community whether you realize it or not. The question is, what are you being formed into? If you are in a thriving community, invest, go deeper, be more intentional. The people around you are not background characters in your story. They are partners in something real. If you are in a depleting one, do not just endure it passively. Either engage honestly about what needs to change and pray about it and help be the change in that church, or begin the prayerful process of finding where you belong. Our fourth point today: auditing and investing the relationships that carry your assignment. Here's a practical exercise I want to give you, not as a harsh evaluation, but as a stewardship tool. Think about the relationships in your life in 3 rings. Inner ring: the people who are in the actual details of your life, your daily thoughts, your real struggles, your working through it conversations. For most people, this is 2 to 5 people. These relationships have the most influence on you. They should be people you've chosen, not just people who've happened to be around. Your middle ring should be people you trust, you spend time with and do life alongside, but who don't have access to the inner room. These are real, meaningful relationships, like your church community or colleagues, friends you see regularly. They shape you in aggregate, even if not individually. And then your outer ring is acquaintances and connections, people you are serving or reaching, but who don't have direct access to your formation. The question is not whether every person in your life belongs in the inner ring. They don't. And it's not about being cold or calculating about human beings. It's about honest stewardship. Who is currently in your inner ring? Did you choose them intentionally, or did they simply accumulate? Do the people who with the most access to you make you more of who God said you are, or less? You don't have to demote anyone dramatically, but you may need to promote some people to be more intentional about cultivating the relationships that are actually carrying your assignment. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10, it says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. The person who falls alone stays down longer. The person embedded in genuine kingdom-aligned relationship gets helped back up. You were not made to do this alone." 3 questions we can carry with us this week. Number 1 is, who is the Proverbs 27, verse 17 person in your life? The friend who sharpens you, who tells you the truth, who believes in your calling, and lives at a level that invites you higher. If you can name them, invest in that relationship this week. A call, a conversation, a meal. If you can't name anyone, pray specifically for that person to come to you and look around. They may already be in your life and you just haven't noticed or developed that relationship yet. I know who this person is for me. And he lives in another state. And we've never met in real life. So isn't that crazy? And my wife's calling me. I'll just send her I'm on my way. All right, question 2. Where is your marriage or primary covenant relationship on the investment scale? Surviving or genuinely building? Not as a verdict, but as an honest assessment. What is one concrete thing you can do in the next 7 days to be more present and more invested in your marriage or in your significant other if you're in a relationship or engaged? What is your church community actually producing in you? Not what it's supposed to produce, but what is it actually producing? Growth, conviction, genuine belonging, honest challenge, or flatness, stagnation, performance? The answer informs next steps. Either deepened investment or prayerful transition. We started this series by talking about what the wrong relationships cost us. The forgiveness work, the boundary work. Those were about clearing debt and stopping the bleeding. But I don't want to end there. I don't want you to walk out of this series just feeling like you barely escaped the damage. I want you to walk out of this series with a vision for what the right relationships can build in you. Because the kingdom doesn't advance through isolated individuals getting quietly better on their own. It advances through people who are bound together in covenant, who speak truth to each other. Oh, geez. Sorry, just had to text her. She didn't understand what I meant. She's going into the office to do some cleaning. Didn't want to interrupt my video, but I didn't go to the office yet. So I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to head in there. I don't want you to walk out of, So I want you to walk out of this series with a vision for what the right relationships can build in you. Because the kingdom doesn't advance through, I already read that, the friends who make you sharper, the marriage that witnesses to something larger than yourselves, the community that forms you into someone you could not have become without it. These are not luxuries. They are instruments of God's purpose in your life. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20 tells us, "For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them." He shows up in the gathered place, in the covenant relationship, in the close range work of real community. Stop trying to do this at a distance. Go close range. Let's close this in prayer. Father, thank you for everybody that's coming to watch this. I just want to pray blessings over their lives. Thank you for allowing me to share these messages on the internet. It's so incredible that you even give us any time and any of your presence. What are we that we can even compare to your splendor? I pray that you would bring these folks back next week, that we would all consider the questions throughout our week, and that we would be the light that you wish us to be throughout our communities and churches. In Jesus' name, amen. Oh yeah, I'm not going to turn it off yet. So I just got this drum set. Who wants to see day 1 of learning how to play the drums? I mean, it's really day 3, but I've only played like 5 minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes. I'm not very good. See? We got no sound. What's going on here? There we go. Get a little more. Can you hear it? So the only thing I've learned so far, pretty much, is just like, what do we do here? Yep, that's what they showed me how to do in the video anyway, so far. It's a lot of fun, I'm just not very good at it, but we're learning. Anyway, thank you for watching. We got another part in this series coming soon, next Saturday. I'll have another video or two. Well, one for Wednesday on the other series, and then one for the following Wednesday. And I think we're going to be starting on another channel here, doing some videos on these little pocket operator things, showing how to use them and little beats you can make with them. I'll play a little beat, so I made this sound. It's pretty cool, I think, anyway. These things are really neat. That one doesn't have any. So here, this one's the one I made last night. This one was the first one I made. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.